Greetings fellow gamers, I'm the Soulsborne Seeker and today I'll be reviewing RIN The Last Child, an action-adventure platformer Metroidvania title released by Space Fox Games on the 25th of January 2024 and currently available for PC. The tale of RIN transpires in a world that's on the verge of extinction due to its mishandling by 5 godly children that were once entrusted with its protection and growth by their divine father and creator of the realm. You play as the titular RIN, the last child of this god who is sent on a mission to defeat and consume her mad siblings in a final effort to save the land from obliteration, a quest that will force her to face hard truths about her family but also the events that preceded this impending catastrophe, as well as the reasons the world was led to this precipice of destruction in the first place. With the fate of all creation resting in her hands, RIN will have to make hard choices that will determine if everything will end or if there may still be hope left for this doomed place. The story is quite intriguing, taking inspiration from the Greek myth of Cronos and his conflict with his children, touching upon themes of free will, predesigned destiny, forgiveness, and the downfall that may result from the pursuit of unattainable perfection, with everything unveiling in front of you through short cutscenes, expository dialogue, and pieces of lore that you will find scattered across the map. Unfortunately, despite the incredible dark fairy tale ambience that permeates the game, it feels like the narrative never truly reaches its full potential, with each sibling not getting enough screen time for us to get to know and empathize with them, thus sometimes making the whole thing seem like a journey from one boss to the next without any emotional impact. It doesn't really help that RIN herself has no dialogue either, which, even though explained via the story by her lack of mouth that acts as symbolic obedience to her father, keeps us from getting to know her personality and, by association, truly identify with her. Thus, the plot itself is promising, but the lack of emotional investment from the player's side lessens the weight of the happenings and, ultimately, reduces interest on the fate of the world we are supposed to be trying to save. Speaking about the world, the setting of RIN The Last Child is a sprawling land that features a diverse range of biomes that you will get to explore, with several secrets awaiting discovery. Most areas are mainly modeled after an element, namely fire, water, earth, and air, and presented by a beautiful art style reminiscent of fairy tale books that really adds to the mythical aspect of the story. That being said, I'll admit that with a few exceptions, most of the biomes felt a bit plain and uninspired, giving off a sense of repetition not just in each biome separately but also among themselves. For example, almost every enemy in the game is a colored variation of a counterpart in a different biome, with nearly identical movement and attack patterns. The design of each area is also for the most part a bit generic, with nothing really standing out as a landmark or an aspect that will catch your eye, making the whole thing feel like the main change that is happening is the background coloration and some platforming segments. About platforming itself, it came off as quite basic and disappointing, with most of the athletic challenges comprising of jumping and dashing from one platform to the next while lacking true acrobatic variety. Admittedly, platforming becomes a bit more complex as you advance through the game and obtain more abilities like the lasso or the skill that allows you to materialize platforms, and there were a few sections where the challenge and fluidity truly shined and showed what could have been, but overall it left a lot to be desired. In relation to the abilities themselves, RIN The Last Child perhaps features one of the longest lists of skills to obtain in order to progress the story as well as backtrack and reach previously unreachable areas, but the issue here is that most of them did not feel necessary and novel enough to be included. For example, you get the standard ability to dash forward and then another ability that adds the skill to break through walls as you dash, which felt unnecessary and didn't really add anything new to platforming and exploration aside from one more way to block your path. Another example is the ability you get to be able to climb walls, which then requires the discovery of a separate upgrade ability to be able to slide down the walls you're able to climb. I do appreciate the attempt to provide many different roadblocks, which is part of the soul of every Metroidvania game, but it feels like some of these obstacles could have been omitted and the creativity redirected to other areas of the game, such as the map design, which is perhaps my biggest gripe in this review. Simply put, the map is too large and chaotic, and the way it is progressively discovered can be confusing. Essentially, instead of each biome being revealed bit by bit depending on your position on it, it is revealed in big pieces, meaning that if you enter a particular area, it will open up a big part of it on your map, including sections that you have not yet passed through, making backtracking and secret discovery a tedious guessing game. It doesn't help that the map design itself feels uninspired, which can further overwhelm you when trying to figure out your next goal. I will note here that the developers released a game patch that added a marking system that allows you to find points of interest more easily, but this was added after I finished the game and created the review, so I didn't get to test its utility. story. Giving credit where credit's due, helping with the traversal of the large world is a good amount of fast travel points in the form of portals that can be unlocked once visited for the first time, which allow you to jump between them and reach distant areas in the blink of an eye. The only negative I found in relation to this system was the fact that when you are choosing which portal to visit, you are not shown its exact location on the map, but only its name, meaning you may accidentally travel to the wrong spot if your memory slips. Combat is perhaps the part where RIN: The Last Child tries to differentiate itself from other titles in the genre, and I have to admit it does bring some good ideas to the table, though the execution doesn't completely nail the landing. Essentially, the game's fighting system is founded on a collection of spells that you can equip and utilize to both attack and defend yourself against the numerous enemies you will come across. Said spells can be equipped in groups of 3 at a time, and all need to be discovered and then crafted using runes you find during exploration before you are able to actually utilize them. Aside from creating your spells, you are also able to upgrade them via an interesting system which has you first unlocking upgrade slots for each one using the game's currency, and then improving the selected spell by choosing among an assortment of lesser runes found scattered across the map that bring different advantages and disadvantages into the mix, such as increasing damage at the cost of elevated mana costs. Additionally, each spell has a major upgrade rune that can be found in secret areas, which vastly improves its potency and power. Given the numerous spells you can craft and utilize, the game allows a lot of freedom when it comes to your battle approach, something that's always welcome. That being said, I never really felt the need to use any other spell than the first 3 I found, mainly due to the very low difficulty when it came to dealing with my enemies, which kept me from actually having to strategize and try different combinations to emerge victorious. For the most part, I was able to rush through and tank the mobs that blocked my path, with each one's destruction yielding health and mana recovery orbs that kept me going. Death also wasn't particularly punishing on the few occasions that I met an untimely end, with each demise simply taking a small percentage of my currency before reviving me in one of the numerous checkpoint spots located around the map, which also function as healing fountains and save points. On the topic of bosses, I'm saddened to say that the game was very disappointing, especially when it came to the fights themselves. While most of the big bads had interesting visual designs, the actual battles against the vast majority of them were simplistic to the point of tedium, lacking any form of excitement and requiring little to no pattern recognition to win. For example, when it came to the first story boss, all he did was sit on one side of the screen while having easily avoidable spikes surge from the ground one at a time, and did nothing else until the end of the fight. The first mini-boss followed a similar simplicity, with his attack pattern solely comprised of a surge from the ground followed by a fireball throw, which evolved to 3 fireballs once below half health. Admittedly, there were a few of the bosses that utilized a bit more complex patterns, but never anything that made the altercations feel like high-stakes situations, despite potential clearly being present there. Difficulty-wise, I played the game on normal and didn't really have much trouble during my playthrough, with most of the challenge coming from a few platforming segments I had to deal with. It should be noted that a hard difficulty is also available, though I didn't get a chance to try it and can't speak on how much more difficult gameplay gets with it selected. In terms of length, it took me around 8 hours to finish the game with more than 80% of secrets found, with a potential additional 2 to 4 hours to get to 100% depending on player skill and observation. At the price of $20, I'd recommend waiting for a sale if you're interested in the title. In conclusion, my time with RIN: The Last Child was a mixed bag. I really enjoyed the art style and found the story compelling despite not reaching its full potential. I thought the spell system was interesting even though I didn't really have to dive deep into it to finish the game, and there were a few platforming segments that really showed what the game could have been if more focus had been diverted to that aspect of it. On the other hand, I found the overall combat difficulty subpar, especially when it came to bosses, and considered the map to be quite chaotic and overwhelming in an unintentional way, which can be frustrating when it comes to a Metroidvania game, even more so if you intend to go for full world exploration. There were also a couple of bugs I came across during my playthrough, but those were patched before I finished the game and were never seen again, so I consider them dealt with and also appreciate the speed with which the developers have released updates based on player feedback. My final verdict on RIN: The Last Child is 5.5 out of 10. What did you think about RIN: The Last Child? Have you played it yet? Do you agree with the points I mentioned, or do you see things differently? Let me know in the comments below, and please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, Soulsborne Seeker out!